I said last week that you had obviously an outside of the country influence that tried to come here and attack us and silence us and try to change the way we live. And in some respects, I felt like last week, what happened to Charlie Kirk was very similar, but just obviously from the inside of the country. They wanted to send a message of you're going to just go shut up and not stop talking about this. And I think what you just said, I think, is what we've seen over the last couple of days. The Kennedy Center last night, the lines, the churches, the gatherings. People are just not going to stand for an attack like this on all of America.
They're not. And it is an attack on all of America. It's an attack on the first tenet of America, the First Amendment, right to free speech. That's what that was being attacked at that point. Unfortunately, Charlie Kirk was the victim of that. But I agree with his wonderful wife, Erica. And, our prayers and our thoughts go out to Erica and her 2 children and everyone associated with Turning Point. When she stood in front on a international audience and said, you may have tried to snuff out one voice. You've created millions of voices. And that is what happened. Over the weekend, we had thousands of people in Nassau County having a vigil for Charlie Kirk. We are seeing people fighting back. We're not going to accept the fact that it's okay to mock the political assassination of one of our fellow Americans because he was speaking his mind. And Charlie Kirk was a man of faith. He was a man of country. He was a man that loved America. And certainly he's trying to snuff that out. That's not going to happen. His unfortunate passing is going to lead to a movement that's going to get supercharged on steroids, and no one's going to stop. And we're seeing that. People are being fired. People are not accepting that it's okay to mock, the death of someone who was just speaking their mind in the best of ways, and a public discourse, public debate of ideas. That's America. That's us. That's our neighbors across the fence.
Yeah. And we were talking amongst us on the show last week. I guess it shouldn't be surprising, but it still was the level. And this brings me back to what Newsday did. Besides the Newsday thing that they had to retract and apologize for. But when you looked at the celebration that there was going on, it wasn't just like what we would joke about pink-haired, liberal wackadoos making videos in their mom's basement. It was doctors. It was lawyers. It was anesthesiologists. It was administrators. It was teachers. It was everyday Americans that we would be in contact with, our kids would be in contact with at all levels of not only government, but society and jobs and businesses. I mean, it was just stunning to see.
It really was. And you know what that says to me is that the common sense Americans stood up and said, no, we're not going to have this. This was an attack on our family. This was an attack on our country. And we're not going to make fun of this, celebrate the murder of one of our Americans for political violence, to shut him up because we did not agree with him. That's not what America's about. We debate. We come together. We compromise. We work together for the whole. You know what? I credit those individuals that were in a position of authority that said, we're not going to have this. I don't want you to be part of our organization. You're not credible enough. You're not credible to teach our students to work in this medical institution or in any walk of life. You're just not there. We don't want to be associated with you. And that's why we had to take this very strong stance with Newsday this past weekend.
Yeah, for those who maybe on the national level don't know, Newsday, the paper here in New York, put up a cartoon, I believe it was the day after, and it showed the tent that Charlie was sitting under, and it said, "Prove me wrong" on it, just like his did. And it showed an empty chair, and the banner that was behind the chair showed a splatter of blood. And this is what they printed in the paper.
It was repugnant.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, there was really no way. I actually called Newsday and tried to, 4 times I dialed to try to get somebody on to complain. It was repugnant.